RPA infused with AI, you could basically, instantly be able to help even the smallest businesses, because you already have pre-trained models that work from day one, right? Just get up and running with RPA in under 5 minutes.
You have two things that I would always focus on is, as a business, make sure you have a good CPA or a good accountant, because they're going to be the storytellers and they're going to tell your business. They're the ones that can look at this business from a different perspective and tell you what historically it looks like, what it's going to look like from a forecast, runway, those types of things.
I do want to have more availability to spend with family and friends and to serve the community and to do all of those things. And really, if nothing else, RPA affords you that. It gives you that ability. So you can use it to become from a small business to an enterprise if that's what you're hoping to do.
It was like the beginning of the 20th century, like when we first started getting jobs. It was mainly repetitive, put the candy on the thing, put the candy on the thing, put the wrapper on the thing, hit the metal thing. It was all the same kind of, we were fine with that. We were fine. It was kind of, it's ancient, it's old, was new for us then. Now we're in a place to where we can get just about anything we want done at the blink of an eye, snap of a finger, if you know what to do.
If we know what we have is making a difference to every company that we talk to, and that every company that buys in and understands the value right away, the impact it's having is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's life-changing overnight. It really is.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the RPA Show. I'm your host, Rob Howes. I have my co-host, Wilton Rogers, the automation guy. We are here, man. And listen, another conversation to move the situation of your life and business forward. We always say on the RPA Show, you just might learn something you didn't know. Well, it's true.
It's true. It's true. And just being connected to the people that can back that statement up in different ways is awesome. We're blessed to be around some amazing people on a regular basis, and be able to engage with them regularly, just jump on a call, hey, let's just talk. Yep. Those type of people, just the knowledge you just get from them is it's crazy. So man, we're in a good spot for sure.
We're what we would call batting 1,000 actually. And that's pretty incredible, especially if you look at the sport of baseball. To be magnificent, you just got to hit the ball 30% of the time. We're hitting the ball every time because we have great guests. And our guest today, I would definitely say we actually spoke with Craig. We spoke with Craig about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And so,
before you bring him on, it's like everybody's worked in the corporate world. This is what I used to think about Craig when I see his work, when I follow him, and when we talked, is we've all worked in that corporate world. You're at this executive level, and you're with a few other people, and none of you guys are on the same page. You guys aren't thinking the same way. You guys are like, what the heck's wrong with you? Why are you doing it that way? And you can never click, right? Whether it's ego or whether it's pride or just not knowledge or whatever, but you have no one there to connect them all together and say, no, all you guys are doing your thing, but let's connect them all together.
Right.
Right. We talked to Craig.
Yep.
Like, dude, where were you when I was in the corporate world, right? I needed you to help us do something because we had some good ideas, but we could never get on the same page. This is one of the guys that can do that for you. So I'm excited to come on to hear more about what he's doing, man. And catching up with him.
And before we bring Craig up, I want to thank everybody for tuning in wherever you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Country, city, state, zip code, whatever you want to drop down there. It's so fantastic to watch this. And also let us know if you're watching it live or if this is a replay. Good afternoon, Diane, and good afternoon, Gary Wood. Gary was a wonderful guest on our show. This is manufacturing mastermind right here, ladies and gentlemen.
He is, dude. Okay? He is.
Speaking of a mastermind, Craig North is he helps. He does a variety of things. He helps organizations thrive with their executives, their leaders, and the workforce all working together. So your executives, your leaders, your workforce, how do we all work together? As you were saying, Wilton, and Craig North is going to help us understand how this is happening. Craig, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Is that your brother there, Jim North, or is this not?
Yeah, it's actually my father.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Wow.
Welcome.
How about that?
Welcome, Dad. Pops, that's fantastic, man. That's wonderful. And listen, Craig, people, have you gone to the comments that you see in the comments? People are actually looking forward to hearing, like, do people know who you are? Or have you been making an impact? Because people are really interested to hear what you have to say today.
I've been looking forward to talking. This is great. I'm glad we had a chance to get this rescheduled. As I know you originally were looking to do this a few months ago. So this is awesome.
Yep. So again, welcome everyone who's here tuning in. And Craig, why don't you just, the purpose of this show is so that, number one, we can not just enlighten, but also educate and help people to understand, how they can do better business. But before we give in those nuggets, why don't you just kind of share, who Craig North is and why did you start KLONE Group and what's the push behind this?
Excellent. Yeah, let me give you a little bit of background there. We're based in Sarasota, Florida, so that gives you an area, but we serve clients on a global scale. So we worked with clients all over. But our background is all been around helping organizations enable and operationalize strategy. And we started the whole business really as a consulting firm. And that was, over 25 years ago. And the whole idea was that we would help develop strategy. We would help validate that, confirm that with leadership team. You guys were just talking about that a few moments ago, is how do you get the leaders to align on that? And then ultimately, to implement a strategy and operationalize it, you had to bring some content and some resources and tools together so that the field, the group that would actually execute and implement the strategy, work with it day in and day out to make it happen. That group needed these resources, whether it was knowledge, whether it was content, whether it was messaging, whether it's a process improvement, whatever it is operationally. We actually would get involved in helping make that happen from a service perspective. What we found is we were producing all this content, all this great resource, and all these tools. We learned that people needed a better way to consume it, rather than just giving them the materials, putting it out there in a content type library for them to use. And we actually created the KLONE platform as an output of that work. And that started 8 years ago or so. And through a few versions, we've built this really strong enterprise-worthy solution set. We've now implemented it across a number of industries, and we've been able to put it together in place. And just as a little background to that, we really focused on, still from a service standpoint, helping companies that we work with, clients at the leadership level, document that strategy. But then we actually work to create the content and collaboration with them, populate in the system, launch that, so everybody has it in the platform. It's a SaaS-based system. And the cool thing about that for us is that once the data is out there, you can start gathering feedback on how it's working. So as a leadership team, we've really run the gamut of helping them document strategy, helping them implement the program, and then helping them gather feedback on progress. So information goes directly back to the leadership team to validate that strategy is working or what adjustments are needed. So that's been the framework. And then everything we've implemented from a service standpoint or a solution point of view has really been within that structure.
That's amazing. That's pretty darn cool, by the way. Mm-hmm. I got a question for you because, we work, like I said, we've been in the corporate world and work with corporations. Getting them on this, creating something like that, like, for example, we do, like, we know we can help them, but being able to them to buy in to what you're selling them, that I think that part, especially when you're working with so many people that are very intelligent in a specific area and knowledgeable, and everybody's going to have a little bit of an ego, they are. So even with that, having them all buy in, what have you seen? How do you get them to really buy in? Is there a certain way that you approach it and sort of have them buy in?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, and it's always the big problem that initially has to be addressed. And we're an outside party, so we're able to come in and objectively facilitate good conversation. And I tell them up front that we're We're checking titles at the door. We're here to talk about whether the strategy can work or not. And that's what we're focused on. That's our history, our experience. We've been able to make that work. And so we're really past the point of saying, can we produce a really great quality output for them? It's now about making sure it's collaboration. And it's not even about what we do in the sessions. It's really about what we do before that. So we go through a number of discovery calls or a number of interviews before we ever step foot in front of a meeting room where we have everybody there.
Yeah.
So we know as much about the business. And frankly, we end up knowing more about some of the business areas they don't know about. Yeah. And so we can bring them into the room and go through that cycle. So that's kind of the first part. I mean, I think the other thing that we run into that's really helpful, Wilton, is for us, is it gives us the chance to document the best practices that we've captured through the discovery, and it puts everybody on notice that we're actually capturing information from the very get-go, so that they get to see their feedback is really validated and it's incorporated in the process. So
immediate feedback. Ooh, that's good.
That's really good. That's awesome.
Anyway.
I think what I found out, and even working in corporations and being part of an opportunity to see corporations buy into what we're doing, is a turnaround for those companies on a larger scale is vast. It can switch over quick. Yeah. And I think that's what's so great about having that outside source come in and looking at it from that side. Like, listen, from our experience, from our knowledge, here are the things that can, allow you to do such and such.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people miss that boat sometimes because they're caught up into the chaos that they're in, not, because of they're busy.
Right.
But I think it's just sort of like, okay, how can we take over, create, control this chaos and where we can scale. And
it's critical. Just something you said that just triggered a thought that I think is, we run into this all the time. It's time. They don't have time to really participate the way they need to. So we take a lot of the work off their plate. We're talking about service work where if they have existing content, we convert that and put it in the system before they ever come in. That's where some of the initial AI services work for us. In addition to that, we're able to take that material in between the working sessions so that we're very clear about the time that they have to be involved. And then we go off and do the work and bring it back as a team and then let them review and validate that, so that there are true gates along the way where everybody has to validate and buy into it. So by the time you get through the work process, then they own it. And that's what we tell them. It's not us.
Yeah. That's nice. That's awesome.
Wow.
Rob, I'll let you. I've been just involved right here, so I'll let you answer some questions. And
well, I can talk, man. So I always step back for a second. I'm just going back to the comments here, and we got some feedback from our audience here. Know the parts of the business through discovery that they don't even know. Yeah, you brought that up, Craig. That's good. A lot of times we're doing things and we don't know. We don't realize that we do 90% of the things. The same things every day. We don't even know we're doing those things. That's called the subconscious. It works the same way in business.
Yeah.
And until it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. So when someone outside the frame can help you see the picture, I can see clearly now. It's a big deal.
Exactly.
Big deal, man.
Yeah. That is. I have a funny story. I'll share that with you. We have some time about. We're working with an accounting firm right now, and I just told the team, stop now. You need us right now. And I'll tell you about the story later, but I don't think, it's just amazing how companies understand like this. They can turn things around if they just take a step back and look at it from a different angle.
Well, the other big thing we run into is after you go through that collaboration and you get them on board, a lot of times organizations, and we see this everywhere, and I know you guys do too, but you launch a program and you expect it to work, and you go on to the next priority or the next initiative that you have. The thing that we look at is, how do you sustain and apply the adoption and implementation after the fact, equally as important as what you did to design and operationalize.
Right.
That's big. I wish I could say that again.
Yeah. So, for us, it's all about how do you sustain it on the back end. So it's implementation, but then there's the monitoring, there's the tracking, there's the validation. Yep. And one of the things that we started that I think has been super helpful is we tried to get away from making it all about the managers and leaders inspecting and coaching and driving it forward, which has been interesting. That in itself is an initiative that has to be looked at. But what we've run across is let's put it back to the organization themselves. The people that are closest to what's going on are the ones in the field. They're the ones that are working day in and day out. Mm-hmm. So we actually implemented this thing called feedback loops or feedback campaigns.
Okay.
And these feedback campaigns are really like an editorial calendar where 1 month it might be on a specific topic. So, for example, if it's a sales-related initiative, it could be about objections that you're running into and how you've responded to those. Another scenario might be a safety guideline. You saw a safety initiative, so share operationally that result back into the organization. Another one on top of that could be something unrelated to that, could be all about customer service. So how do we solve certain problems? Is there another way to skin the cat or another way to approach that, as they say, and give us an opportunity to share that information? And so frankly, it gives us the opportunity to help set that schedule, and then the system itself collects all the data and rolls it up. So it gives them a way to what we call capture feedback in the flow of work. So that back end piece, I think, is extremely important, just as a way to help and maintain adoption.
Well, I think, what I also think that back end is the sticky part. And what I mean by that is if you do the back end, you're doing the process improvement, you're figuring out ways to improve this process. That process is going to mature within time, just naturally. And if you collect that data that's maturing, it's that fast to implement and change.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So, I think the back end, and that's where the sticky part, because, excuse me, when you figure out what that is, it's going to be smooth flowing from that point on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We saw one of comes out of this. I'll just throw this up real quick, not to dominate the response.
Flow with it.
We also see trends that come out of that feedback where you have a need for training, where you have a gap in your knowledge base inside the organization, and that gets exposed super fast. And then we don't have to tell them, the data tells them. So the leadership team gets a chance to respond to that. Whether you're a first line leader all the way up to the C-suite, it's all connected.
But look how important that is. Like the training is so important for organization. If we get the data that fast to give it to the people who can make that decision, okay, you know what, we got to get that training. Dude, that's a game changer quick.
Yep.
Right?
It is.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The feedback loop, there is a power in a quick feedback loop. It's interesting. I was diagnosing, how they have the AI that beat the master in Go, beat the master in chess, how the AI did that so fast. And the reason why the AI is able to do that is because what the AI does is it does an action and then it has feedback instantly, though. Has an action, but then it's instant feedback. So it's instantaneous feedback. And so
instant consumption. Not like a human mind. It's like
Yep. It's something powerful about feedback, positive feedback, accurate feedback. Let me say those things. Yeah. Something very powerful about that. That's a very, very unique system.
Well, if an organization buys into the philosophy that they know how to set it up, but they don't know what's happening day to day, and they need the feedback for that purpose. If you accept that, and then willing to make decisions based on that, better informed decisions, then you really have that loop closed up. So it makes it even better.
Yeah. And with the way businesses and technology is nowadays, it's so easy to flip it quick, to fix it, to change it, to instant. It really is. Yep. It really is. And you couldn't say that 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now, you could it's just a turn of a key. Like, okay, I want to, not this way, now it's already built, let's go.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Well, our cell phones, whether you're on Teams or Zoom or whatever it is all the time, you're always available. So it's
always.
You can't say you can't give it. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Craig, what would you say one of the biggest wins that you've helped an organization, and one that you can remember? What do you think one of the biggest wins was?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different examples. That's a loaded question. So
yeah, I know.
From a service standpoint, we've helped organizations implement new strategy that's ultimately over time led to amazing growth, where they've gone from average deal size from selling $50K as an average solution sale all the way up to $1 million 2 or 3 years later. We've had organizations that we've worked with that we've implemented that were able to, as a global organization, standardize around one consistent way that they were going to facilitate coaching sessions, especially for first-line leaders. That in itself is a game changer, just based on how you develop and grow your team functionally. But we've even gone so far as to work with organizations that were really looking at M&A opportunity. They just want to get the foundation in place so that they had the knowledge base, they had the program, the infrastructure established, so that they could then take that and leverage that into the new model. And that tended to stand the test of time. So those relationships we've been able to continue to work with over and over and over for years, and kept those in place. The more recent ones that are even involving more technology have been the ones that have actually launched, let's say, a new go-to-market strategy. And they wanted to make sure that as they enabled and grew their organization, have grown their organization, that they were able to get everybody on the same page, delivering exactly the same message, and then being able to track the results of that message. So everything we've been talking about in terms of feedback and tracking adoption and usage, they've been able to put that in play. And 3 months later, they revised everything and implemented a brand new message that was refined. It wasn't remarkably different. It was just refined. It was focused on a little change, but it's given them an opportunity to help take market share. And when you do that, it gives them a tremendous way and to see real value almost immediately. So
yeah. That's pretty amazing, dude. I mean, I know how to get a hold of you. We know how to get a hold of you. But if people are looking, really wanted to dig deeper and just have that conversation, how can they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, they're happy to take an email directly, or you can hit me up through LinkedIn. Those are two easy ways. On LinkedIn, I'm accessible under me, Craig North, and then you'll see me as well under KLONE. The KLONE group is the other one, and then the other more direct one is my email, which is Craig@kloneme.com, and that's KLONEME.com.
We'll put those all in the comments here, and then on YouTube, we'll put them in the body of there and get all that out there. So we'll make sure that it hits up on people. So, okay. But yeah, go ahead, Rob.
What you gonna go? I'm not gonna cut you off. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, for me, it just I don't think it's people don't realize how important someone like you are to an organization. And it gets over. I think I'm sure business is okay, but it gets overlooked too often because they're not bought in. They don't understand the value that it could bring in a short period, in a pretty fast period of time.
Yeah.
And so people that are out there that are that's why I say contact you, because organizations, they need that now. We see it all the time. Like, you guys, how are you guys even still in business? Mm-hmm. Trying to figure it out. Really, how are you? Kenny, I don't even know where to help you. I'm scared to help you because you're going to blame it on me, type deal, right? So there's a lot of those out there, but it's an easy, Craig North, this can fix you, type deal,
Well, our team was willing and ready to help. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Just as a side thought on that, we've worked with clients a lot where they've had a long-term strategy, and you guys probably do the same thing with your initiatives. But we work with clients who will have a long-term strategy for where they want to go, but there's some short-term gates, and you really focus on what those gates are so that you can get wins out of that early that help the organization sell the change. And it could be nothing more than a small change initiative or a behavior change to start the whole process. Yeah. And if you stay really focused as a group on creating and managing to that outcome, amazing things can happen quickly. So we've been fortunate to be a part of several of those.
But Did you guys hear that? Listen, audience. If you own a business, just reach out for a conversation, because that conversation can save you years, probably the decades of knowledge and experience just off a conversation.
Yep.
So reach out. So that's all I have to say. Go ahead, Rob.
It is really that serious. Knowledge is power, but it's the proper application of knowledge that makes that wisdom.
That's right.
Right. So it's like you have to apply what you hear, take action with it. And we are in this part of the 21st century where if you do this, I'm going to get dark, I'm going to get bright. I'll do dark first. Dark is if you don't, you're going to miss it and the gap is wide and you may never come back.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get on board now and get yourself educated in this time period, you will be so far ahead and so happy that you were, right? Think about the wave coming in. You know, are you on the surfboard riding the wave, or is that tidal wave coming right down on you?
I looking over at looking up at it.
Right. So, Craig, give us your best piece of business advice.
Wow. I think the biggest thing, and I get this asked a lot, is what's the biggest reason that you're, or what's the barrier to really implementing something like this? And we always talk about company buy-in, but it's also not letting the time concerns that you have stop you. And time always comes down to the fact that I have all this information, I don't want to have to reprocess it. Or two, I have all this data, this content that we've already worked with, and it's going to take me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe even months to manually process that. We've been able to eliminate that. So that's kind of big issue number one. But the other big advice we've had that I think has worked well for us is you've got to document what change you're looking for in any program, any initiative, and then just be so focused on holding to that. And it's not a hammer. It's not a thumb stuck on everybody. It's about letting everybody buy into how that's going to affect their role, how it's going to affect their outcomes from a job function. It's going to be very specific to how the organization as a whole measures to success. Wow. So that you build some metrics for tracking what's going to win against that. But if you create those two bookends, everything in between becomes a lot easier to work from. Wow. So the buy-in becomes better because you know what you're going to measure towards. You know what you're going to be coaching, you know what you're going to be implementing. But getting that change piece first up front, defined, aligned, confirmed as a team, to me has been the number one thing that we have seen consistently drive success in every initiative over and over and over.
Love the sound of it. Those are the metrics. What you can measure, you can improve.
Exactly.
Craig Noah, thanks for joining us here, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Absolutely.
It's always a great conversation. Your information will be in the comments. Reach out. Listen, the only dumb question is the one that's not asked. Right?
Exactly. Right.
That's it. So the RPA Show, the show where you just might learn something you didn't know. And hopefully this is one of those times. Until next time. Business burnout can be so overwhelming. So many things to do and not enough time to do them. Deadlines to meet with time ticking away quickly. Multiple repetitive tasks that must be completed every single day. What if you could cut that list in half? What if you could automate 50, 60, 70% of what you do every day? You would have less stress. You could get more done in less time. And your company would make more money. Less stress and more money? See how RPA can change your day.